Hello, friends, and welcome to the Sweet House. I am sitting down with one of my good friends, Kelly Sutton. You are the Nashville queen, and today's episode, let's just get to it.
Let's get in it.
Everybody in America is getting laid off.
Yes, we've been there.
We've been there a couple of times.
I've got
we're laughing right now, but it wasn't funny at the time.
Girl, no. First of all, I have to say this right off the top. I am so proud of you. Oh. I have seen this coming. Everyone that knows you knew there was something massive and amazing that was just waiting. It's been bubbling on the back burner.
I'm going to go cry now.
I know, but seriously, like, now is the time, and you're stepping into it. And the fact that I get to be here to be a part of this for the first one is a huge honor, because I'm so proud of you. And this is what you were meant to do all along.
It was what I was meant to do all along. The funny thing about you and I is, first of all, thank you, because you have been a guiding light for me. Like you stepping out and doing your own thing in the broadcast journalism world was just like eye-opening for me that it was possible. And I always knew it was possible. But I guess there's something in all of us that we just kind of dies over time whenever we submit ourselves to doing somebody else's path versus doing our own path. So thank you, first of all. And that's why I was like, I got to have Kelly as my first guest, because she's been here. She's been there, done that for us.
Yes,
so I was like, I wanted you on. But right now, layoffs across all industries, notably tech, are just like killing everybody. And let's face it, at this point, everything is tech. Like literally you order your groceries, you take photos, everything is tech. And right now the unemployment rate's 3.4%, which also doesn't seem like a lot. But when people who have like a massive talent or just like an immense talent to do these jobs at Google and Amazon and just all the other places that are laying people off, it's kind of scary.
It's very scary. So, well, and I'll tell you, okay, so my journey started much like yours, wanted to be in broadcasting, knew that from a very early age, decided to go.
When I was like 5.
Same. Like I knew always, I'm sure there are plenty of pictures of me with a microphone when I was younger. So went on the traditional track. How do I become a television broadcaster? That's what I want to do. Found the college, did the thing, did the internships. I was, running lights, running camera, running teleprompter, all the things. Got that first job. Amazing. Ended up becoming a nightly news anchor at a CBS affiliate in Evansville, Indiana. And that's the dream, right? Like,
it is the dream.
That's the dream. That's what I wanted to do. I'm there. They get us together one day for a staff meeting, and they announced to 45 of us.
I have to laugh.
Girl, I was still laughing. I wasn't laughing at the time, laughing now.
Yeah.
They said, ratings are not what we want them to be. We're canceling the news. And we looked at each other like, can you do that? I didn't think you could do that. We became the news story. Like other news stations came and videoed us walking our boxes of stuff out to our cars. And I mean, I'd never heard of anything like this. All of a sudden, my world's turned upside down. We just bought our first house. What am I going to do? Fast forward, I get a job in Nashville. Same thing. I fall back into the same thing. Bigger market, more fun, morning show, loved it. 12 years, Jasmine, that I gave my life to this station.
Can we talk about that? Is that you do give your life.
Yes, you do.
You give your intellectual property, you give your life. And like you and I were just talking before we started this, how much of yourself that you give that you almost can't help but to feel some type of way when it's all taken away.
Oh,
it's like, even if you take just a little bit for yourself, you've still given 40 plus hours of your week to a job or a situation that's like, getting all your talent.
It's getting all of your love, your blood, sweat, tears.
Your family time. It's taking so much from you.
So I was there for 12 years doing the morning show. And then all of a sudden they decided to make some changes, and I was one of the changes. Now that was the layoff because it was just me and it wasn't a group of people. That's the one that took me to my knees. Yeah. Because this was my identity. I was the morning show host in Nashville. I'd been that way for 12 years. People knew who I was. If I'm not that, who am I? I had a baby while I was on the air. I feel that. I gave the first 3 years of her life missing mornings with my daughter. So that I could go in early for this show. And that is what hit me. And I think that was the gut punch. Like, oh my gosh, I've given so much of,
because it's like,
everything.
what if, like, what if you didn't have to give so much? But the fact of the matter is you have to pay your bills. And the fact of the matter is you have to follow your dream. And your dream was to become a renowned broadcast journalist.
Right.
And my dream was to become a renowned broadcast journalist. Right. And when I got out of college in 2011, there were no jobs. So it was either I go to a small market and make very, very little money. Let's just face it, because that's part of that industry. So I decided to go into marketing. And my first job out of college, I got laid off. So for me, I looked at it and I'm like, man, I'm coming out of school right after the financial crisis, the housing crisis, everything. The economy's just gone to hell. And I just didn't know, like, where do I go from here? And at that time, I'd only poured 1 year of my life into it. But that perspective was also, well, if they say I have to work until I'm 65 or 70, I'm just getting started in this thing. And if this is how it's looking, I'm not feeling very clear.
I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do this
I'm like,
anymore.
look, where is the club and the pole? Maybe, look,
there's got to be a better way.
There's got to be an easier way, a better way for me to make something happen out here. Like, I don't know. What do I need to do to, like, figure it out? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is some sage advice, and it came from a friend, and then again, my husband kind of reiterated the same thing. I remember I'd been offered another job, different industry, kind of adjacent to what I had been doing. It was going to be 9 to 5, 5 days a week, 1 week vacation.
1 week vacation in the grand scheme of things.
Thank you. And not a whole lot of money, and I was gonna be behind a desk, and I remember thinking, I don't think I'm cut out for this, and I don't think this is what I want to do. And a really good friend of mine said, well, you have to bet on yourself sometime. Why not now?
Yeah, you do have to bet on yourself, and I think that you don't always have a pivotal time, but I do think when you get kicked out the door, you're like, all right, it's either sink or swim. So I have to make something happen.
Yeah.
So
and I'll tell you, I have been knocked down and come back at least 3 times in my life.
Yeah.
And every time it gets easier.
Yeah.
Every time it
does get easier.
Yeah.
I had a friend come over yesterday and she goes, how are you doing? And I think she was just expecting me to open up the floodgates. And I'm like, look, the golden gates have been opened. I feel very proud because I hear you talk about how you just championed motherhood while you were given 12 years of your life to a career.
Yes.
And I just did the same thing. Like, I became a new mom within the past year. And so Rain's 15 months now. And I just look at the whole past year. Last year, I actually made double what I was making at my full-time job doing entrepreneurial ventures. But I think let's talk about that too, because I mean, it's like somebody will possibly say, well, why didn't you just leave before now? And it's like,
why would you?
Why would you?
Listen, if somebody else is going to finance you while you can do your side hustle, you take that check.
Absolutely.
You take that check and you put it in the bank and you wait until the day that you're ready or until they say goodbye. And then you're okay. You're setting yourself up.
But I think society has to change that stigma, because it's like society makes it feel like, well, you don't need this job. Because I've even felt like that as an entrepreneur with a full-time job. Yeah. I've kind of felt like I've been treated differently for going after my dreams and aspirations. It's often a question of, well, how are you able to do all this plus do your job? Oh, I can run circles around this world if need be, sir.
Yes.
Like, I can canoe across the seas and climb Mount Everest to make some stuff happen. And when I became a mother, I think that even amplified even further, because for me, I was like, there's nothing stopping me. I gave life to this world. So, you know, there's nothing that can like come between me and whatever I'm going after. So when I got laid off, I'm like, well, I think the floodgates to heaven just opened up for me. Yeah. I just am feeling like almost ethereal to the point of like, there's endless possibilities that are hanging on little clouds that I imagine, I can't see. I know it sounds crazy, but they're there. And I'm just going to jump on one like Super Mario.
Yeah. And listen, okay, so here's what I would tell anybody that's in the similar position. Maybe they've been laid off. Maybe they want to start something. They had a side gig. They had a side hustle. And they're thinking, this is the time. I'm ready. Let's go. So the first thing I would tell you is make sure that you've got at least a little bit of a nest egg.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's $1,000 in the bank. Maybe it's, just 2 months rent. Give yourself a little bit of a cushion, because that, I think, is key. If you've got just enough it makes you braver.
Absolutely.
They say money doesn't fix everything. It doesn't, but it does make it a little bit easier.
It does make it easier, yeah.
So if you're wanting to jump, you're thinking about that, give yourself that cushion.
Yeah.
And if you can make it a bigger cushion, do that. That's why I'm saying, don't give up that paycheck.
Absolutely. Get the paycheck, but also go hard for your own ventures.
Correct.
And also stack the cash.
I would say that is number one. I'd say number two, know what your purpose is.
Absolutely.
And if that is, bringing light to helping women start a new business, whether that is making connections. In my case, mine is, I want to shine a light on up and coming singer-songwriters and people that are here in Nashville making country music. That's my passion. I love to introduce people to new artists and kind of champion what music is coming out of our city.
Yeah.
So I knew that going into it. And so get really clear and define on what your purpose is. Yeah. And then, this is the biggest and scariest part, is you got to just make the leap. And here's my story is I was never bold enough to make a leap, and God knew that. So he had to push me all right, kid, well, if you're not going to do it, boom, here we go.
Yeah.
So
that's why I say it's the floodgates from heaven.
Right. When you're stubborn and you don't make that move,
He's
sometimes
going to make it for you.
You got to give that little push.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be so much bigger and better than you ever imagined.
Yeah.
Like the things that I had written on my vision board 2 years ago or 3 years ago, all of them have come true, but in a different way than I thought and in a better way than I thought.
Yeah.
Because there are plans that are being made for you that are bigger and better than you ever knew.
Absolutely.
And you got to trust in that.
I do. I think you have to trust in it, and you have to trust yourself. So I have only been laid off from my 9-to-5 for a week now, and
it's still fresh.
It's still very fresh, but here I am sitting down. I've invested in this YouTube show, monetarily, sweat equity, all of it. I've invested in it, and I'm actually going to make it happen. I've actually talked about it for years, and I've actually filmed it before. And this go round, I'm like, we're actually going to do it because I've been pushed out there. I'm and I have to trust myself. And it is hard to trust yourself. It's every day. I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh man, am I really doing this? And who am I going to impact by actually doing this? But I think it's a conversation people need to hear. For sure. I have several friends that are laid off right now and everyone's scrambling, and a lot of people, this is their first time being laid off and they're just not sure how to feel about it. There's so many emotions. And even the other day, I was filling out some paperwork for Rain's new school, and it said parent's name and parent's job. And I said to myself, self. And so
self-employed.
Right, self-employed. But when I think about it, our identities are tied to these positions. And so it's hard to separate yourself. In turn, it's hard to trust yourself to move forward. But I can say that I've trusted myself for years now, and it's paid off. It's paid dividends for the past decade. So I know trusting myself this go round is actually going to do even better. I just feel like I finally have the capacity to fulfill my dreams. And you don't have that space whenever you're spread thin. And I think for the past few years, I've just been literally putting pennies in this bucket, putting a few dollars in that bucket, and so on, to the point where I'm just I don't have anything left to give at the end of the day. I don't have a voice to share because I'm tired. I'm depleted at the end of the day. So I feel like this drop for me opened just a new perspective for me to get out here. Now I'm scared.
I was going to say, if we're getting real and we're getting real with everybody out there that's watching this, it's scary.
It is. It's
really scary. Yeah. It's a scary feeling. It's a feeling of uncertainty. Yeah. But then, oh gosh, I had somebody say this to me and I was like, you're so right. Nothing is certain.
Nothing is certain.
That piece of paper they gave me that was a 3-year contract wasn't worth the paper that it was written on, because when they decided they were done, they were done.
They were done.
No one's 9-to-5 is a certainty. No. There's no stability. So the stability that you make for yourself is where you find your roots.
Yeah.
What do I want to build on?
Where you find your level of joy and happiness.
Absolutely.
Because it's I always knew it would come to an end. I mean, I I spent somewhere for 3 years, and I'm just like pouring out campaign after campaign, and I feel good about it because the campaigns that I was putting out, and I'm pretty sure you can attest to this, also doing news, the people that you're featuring and the news that you're sharing, you are informing people, and you know that feels good. But at the same time, you know one day it's going to end and you're going to have to do your own thing. So it's always there. So I think people need to shift that perspective of like, yeah, I'm here today. Yeah, I might be an analytical consultant today, or I might be a lawyer for said corporate company, or I might be running student affairs at said university, but it can all come to an end, and it needs to come to an end because you need to start new things.
That's exactly right. So. That's exactly right. And, you know, somebody said something, I actually had lunch with a friend yesterday, and I said, like, what's the best piece of advice that you were given? And he said, and I thought this was so prophetic, he said, let opportunity be your friend.
Ooh.
Don't be afraid of an opportunity. So if someone comes to you with an opportunity that you think fits what you're doing, even if it's not exactly what you thought it was, let it be your friend, because there will be opportunities that open up to you that you never imagined that will lead you down a different path. I mean, nothing is in a straight line. Nothing. You know?
No, nothing is in a straight line.
I never thought in a million years when I set off to be a news anchor that I would end up hosting the Grand Ole Opry. That is a windy road, friends. But it is the greatest joy of my life that I get to do that. And I realize now that's what I was meant to do all along. But it took many different paths to get there. And I feel like if you are so locked in on what you think you're supposed to be doing, you're missing some of these opportunities that might be coming at you. And
I agree.
And I feel like you have always done that so very well. And the other thing that you've done so well that I think really hits home with anyone that's listening to this is you've built an audience that trusts you because you've always been authentic.
I've tried.
You've always been you. It was the Jasmine that we see. We knew. And if you were telling us about something like, I really like this, I knew, and I know you as a friend, but I knew, I was like, oh, she really likes that. I'm going to buy it. Because you wouldn't represent something that you didn't believe in. You wouldn't put something forward to people because these are your friends and these are the people that trust you.
And I also think that that's been a hard part for me stepping solely into the influencer world, is because it does reframe a lot of people. They become influencers, but of what? They become influencers, but of who? And it's like, you know, these are questions that I think that we have to ask ourselves as influencers lead us in the social space. And I mean, you're an influencer, but you're also an influencer of career paths. You're also an influencer of motherhood. You're an influencer of music. You're an influencer of bringing in new talent and showcasing them to the world. So I think for me, I always struggled with going solely influencer life because I feel like I had other things to share with the world. I wanted to be an influencer of so many things, an influencer of women in tech, an influencer of women in media. We're both women in media, you know, and I'm very proud of even the work that I've been able to do in that space because I made connections, real connections with women. I think sometimes we look at the likes and the comments and we're like, oh, I didn't get 1,000 likes. Well, I don't care because I know Kelly Sutton in real life. And guess what? I can call Kelly Sutton and we can go to dinner at the Conrad and laugh all night and make something happen.
And have that bread. That bread was so good.
Oh, the bread was good. Yes, the bread was delicious. It was the best thing on the menu.
So, okay, I have to ask you this because this is a new space for you. And truly, like, the future is wide open. So whom do you want to influence?
I want to influence women to step into their calling. I think there is a glass ceiling. And it's funny because I went to college for broadcast journalism, like I've mentioned before, but I also studied leadership in college. And I just remember being 18 talking about the glass ceiling in college. And I'm like, well, what's that? But there's a glass ceiling. We're not in these roles where we can make decisions. Somebody came to you and cut your job. Somebody came to me and cut my job. You talk about being a mother during that time period. You have somebody to like represent. You have somebody to take care of. You have somebody to nurture. So do I. She's 15 months. She's brand new here. And so am I. She's looking at me like, what's going on, mama? mama. And I looked at her this morning and I said, sis, I'm doing this for you.
That's right.
I am
That's
like,
right.
I'm self-funding this. This is a self-funded YouTube project. And I'm getting out here and I'm going to tell my story. And however it is perceived, and I can't control it. But this is a mountain that I'm willing to go after because guess what? As a mother, I know what I'm capable of at this point. I have no doubts about that. I also am at a point in my career where I understand my talents and what I can offer to the world. So
and what you're worth.
What I am worth. Absolutely. Oh,
Don't you forget that.
Yes.
That is the biggest lesson I think I had to learn.
Yeah.
I could see what other people were worth.
Yeah.
But it was hard for me to figure out what I was worth and then ask for it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the next step.
Yes.
Is like, know what you're worth, but then have the balls to ask for it.
The balls, and we don't even have balls.
Well,
how crazy is that?
Do we?
We got them.
I'm just going to say.
Look, we do.
Legitimately,
but I just like
the moment that you feel that power and you step in that power and you own that power, everything changes.
Everything changes. And it's funny that you say that because the day that I got laid off and I was at lunch with two of my colleagues who are also women, we were just sitting there talking about entrepreneurship, and neither one of them are entrepreneurs per se. They're wanting to start making a way for themselves, but they were asking me what it's like. And I'm like, well, it is hard. I'll tell you what, I'm negotiating a deal right now. And the deliverables that they have given me are far lower than what I'm worth.
See?
So I was like, I've told them I'm willing to walk away from this. And literally the company got back to me and they paid me what I was worth. But I had to be willing to walk away from it. And so I do feel like in entrepreneurship, there's been a level of trust in myself that I've been willing to have.
Yep.
But for some reason, I didn't have that same like trust in myself in corporate. I haven't had a raise in 3 years. I haven't had a promotion in 3 years, yet I was willing to stay. And it's like, for some reason, I stayed for several reasons. I can give you a whole list, but we don't have time for it. But some of the reasons include the fact that like I wanted women to have a space in this industry, in tech and media. Like I wanted us to hold space. I mean, I look around, there's not very many of us women in business. I wanted to be able to portray that to other people so that they know it's still a possibility. I think a lot of times now people are stepping into the influencer lane.
Yes.
This whole next generation is like, I want to be an influencer. And they're also not sure of what they want to be an influencer of because they haven't seen it done. It's like they watched my entire generation come out of college and not be able to find jobs, inundated with student loans. Now we're getting laid off. So they're looking at all of us like, well, why would I do that? So I'm just going to get out here and, go another path. So I wanted to hold space for everybody who could potentially come after me, and also all the women that are coming with me, and also all the women that are older than me, because they also need to have this space. My aunt was an executive at Xerox, laid off in her 50-somethings, and she's done well, but it's not like after she was laid off in her 50-somethings that she was able to go be a CEO of a company.
Right.
And I think these are all across all ages, across all demographics. Women are just having a hard time proclaiming our space and also just owning our own identities in that space. It's hard.
Well, and I think something that I don't know.
I just went on a rant.
No, I loved it. Look, I'm here for it. If you pass the plate, I put money in it right now. I'm like, we're having revival. This is good.
Amen.
Yes, sign me up. Sign me up. Woo, it's getting warm. But here's the other thing that I think is really interesting, and I think it was almost a byproduct, and it seems like you're moving into this space. It's not just you're creating this for other women who are entrepreneurs, that you are speaking to them. You are creating community.
Yes, community.
And all of us are looking for community and wanting to see ourselves in other people and wanting to have a place where they can sound off and feeling safe where they can ask the questions like, hi, I want to start my own business. How do I even do health insurance? Like those are real questions. Those are tangible things. And for what you're doing with this space, you are building a community of women that will be able to come in and ask those questions and have them answered and have cheerleaders and have what they're working on feel validated.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I definitely hope so. I mean, just down to like even me sharing the campaigns that I was even working on at work, like whether it was a podcast to help you get healthier or whatever the case may be. I do feel like the job aligned with my just thoughts on life as a lifestyle blogger. So I will miss that part, but I also was able to like do that outside of there, sharing podcasts or sharing clothes that I love or just partnering with brands that stand for something and all those things. So again, yeah, you're right. I definitely want to create a community of people. And I say women because that's my sole demographic. It's like 80% women, but I also want men to know how they can nurture these situations.
Sure.
I mean, I'll speak to maternity leave. Like maternity leave is a constant struggle in America, but we're not the ones who are making those decisions. We're still like trying to juggle when do we go back to work and how much time do we get off and how do we carry on only getting 65% of our pay when we're trying to care for a human, when we're fresh out of the hospital wearing adult diapers. Like it's just a whole situation. And so I just want to create this space to where I'm bringing awareness to it all. And that is what I want to be an influencer of. I don't care about the 5 outfits on Amazon. I don't care about the multi-brand deal. At the end of the day, like what I want to bring influence to are these things that all of us are facing every day. I don't want to sell shoes and stuff to people when we're in the middle of recovering from a pandemic. People are losing their jobs. Like I had to tell a brand the other day, I'm not in the business of selling. What I will do is package this up to where it is visually appealing, and I will sell it to an audience in a creative way that gives them some sort of inspiration. So if it's a yoga outfit, I actually practice yoga. So I'll give them some sort of affirmation as to like why I'm doing yoga that day or whatever it is. And to me, that's the true marketer in me, and that's the true influencer in me, because it's not me like with fancy transitions. It's not me with like, you know, sliding in sideways and doing flips and dancing and all that kind of stuff. It's me just being real about life. So, and honestly, even that can be hard sometimes because you're surrounded by people who are willing to dance and do backflips and all the things. So,
but that wouldn't be authentically you.
Nope.
And people would see through that.
Yeah. I might start doing it.
And now for our TikTok dance.
Look, it's the Kelly and Jasmine TikTok dance today in Nashville.
One time only.
One time only. Look, and I enjoy dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And trust me, you might find me in any club in Nashville dropping it like it's hot on any given day. But it's just not something that, like, I feel like there's so much more to life in the world. And I want to share that. So,
I feel like what you're doing and creating this really is opening doors for other people. It's going to help other people. When you tell your story, when you're truthful, and when you tell people, you know what, I was laid off and it sucks and it's scary. And the first thing that you need to do is give yourself grace, because you just went through something that's pretty traumatic. I mean, and I think everyone is going to experience that in their lives. Everyone is going to handle it differently. Give yourself time to get through it.
Oh, I had somebody already ask me. They were like, so are you going to jump right back out there and like start applying for jobs and stuff? And I said, no, I'm not. Like, and she said to me, well, at least you have a husband. And even that kind of bothered me because I'm like, yes, I have a husband, but I also have goals and aspirations. And I also like I'm not going to use that as my scapegoat. No. And I'm also not going to use the societal pressure of being laid off to just get out here and negate my feelings and start hopping right into applying for jobs. If I see something that aligns with what I want, then so be it. I might apply for it. I might entertain it. Right. But I'm also in the space where I am heavily entertaining the things that I'm good at. So here I am right now. I'm going to say never. And that's why I say that. That's because none of us know. Like we said earlier, like something might end and something might begin.
Here's the one thing that I said after the big layoff when I was at the TV station and then was let go before I took another TV job, but the one thing that I said to myself, I will never let anyone else be in charge of my future.
Absolutely.
I will never put all of my eggs in someone else's basket.
Yeah.
So from that point on, I already had an LLC. I started that years ago. Yeah. It was just kind of there.
So you put the seeds down.
I put the seeds down in like 2004.
Yeah.
So that was there, and I had the name, and I'm like, we're going to ramp this up.
Yeah.
And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to build this out. If you want me to come and work for you, I would love to align with you and work with you, but not work for you.
Absolutely.
I will work with you.
And you and I talked about that too.
And I said, I can give you 12 hours a week. And to my utter shock, they said, okay, we'll take it. And I was like, wait a minute.
But I think you have built up your talent enough to be able to like pitch that to them and say, I'm going to give you 12 hours because it's going to be a strong and full 12 hours.
Amen.
Yeah.
And yes, I think there is some, legion to that I had this workload that I had already proven myself and there was a track record.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, I think for people that are setting off to start their own thing, figure out if you do want to work with other people, and that is a great way to bring in income, because when I decided that I was moving into this space, the goals that I set for myself were I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to work with the people that I wanted to work with, and I wanted to have multiple streams of income.
Absolutely.
Because
always. You can't not.
When you've got one job and that job goes away, your income goes away, and so do your choices. And that's what's really scary.
Yeah.
So when you start up again, make sure that if it's a side hustle, if it's, if you are delivering for Shipt, if you are driving for Uber, if you, whatever it is, give yourself multiple streams of income because that's power.
It is
that
power.
Is power. And you can make decisions later.
Absolutely. And I just want to draw it out because I don't think people take the time to even draw it out.
Right.
So you get laid off from your job and you're walking out of your office with a box of your belongings for the past, I don't know, for you 12 years, for me 3 years at current, other situations differently.
Yeah.
You're walking out of there. The future is uncertain. You're not sure which direction to go in. You're financially trying to figure things out. If you are more than a single person, you got a husband and a baby, you're also trying to navigate what that looks like. Do you decide to become a stay-at-home mom? What do you do with all these different scenarios? On top of the fact, mental health is a major conversation right now.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to process all of this kind of with a cloudy mind if you have some life stressors that are grander. And in my case, this go round, I'm prepared to meet the task at hand. But the first time I was not. I was fresh out of college and broke and just unsure and broke in by the situation. Right. But then I was expected to flip the switch and go ahead and just hop on out there.
Right.
And so I just feel like companies even owe people do severance packages to be able to navigate the next steps. And a lot of times you don't get that. So it is important for all of you, we're both speaking to you guys on that, to make sure that you are cultivating other areas of income. So I don't care if you rent a room in your house. I mean, you can start renting rooms in your house to do photography. There's a website called ave.com. I'm giving them some free marketing, but I'm
just saying.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can start painting, or if you're good at that. So I just think that, like, not even if you're good at it, just take a painting class and just get to something, because at this point, like I said before, everybody has to be self-employed to some degree to contend with this environment, period.
And I think you nailed it in the fact that you are coming out and you're cloudy and you don't want to make, first of all, if you just got laid off, there is no rush to make the next life decision. So take that off the plate. Like, get that out of your head, because you're not in a position right now to make a huge life decision. So just give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
Get some money coming in, whether that's wag.com so you can walk somebody's dog, whether it's house sitting. Look, we know the hustle
because we've been there.
We've queens of the hustle. We know what it is. Get some income coming in so that stress isn't on top of your head. And then sit down and really write out, what are my goals? What do I want to do? 5 years from now, what do I want to do? If I had a perfect world, what do I want to do? If I could do anything and the paycheck didn't matter, what would that be? And figure that out and get really clear on that, and then start taking baby steps toward that. And it might be, 85% driving for Uber and 15% working on this business, but it will start to shift, and you just keep making that shift until you're like, I don't need to do this anymore. That's great. Now I can jump in and I can be full-time over here.
Because there has to be some level of commitment to it. There has to be some level of commitment to the things you want to do, because there is no like return on investment immediately.
No,
there's just not. As much as you would love to like see the fruits of your labor. And I tell people that even with the influencer business, a lot of people think that we take pictures for a living. I do everything myself, and I did it with a full-time job. I don't have an assistant. So a lot of times I would pitch 50 to 100 brands a week and maybe get 3 brand deals from that. Yeah. So if you look at the percentages of jobs that I'm getting from that, I'm not getting a lot for the output that I'm putting out towards my goals and aspirations. So I do feel like you're going to have to give yourself some grace to lean into to what you want to do, because it's not going to be given to you. And I noticed that people that do have a given life, they don't do what we're doing. They're not willing to walk a dog. They actually never figure out their goals and aspirations, because there's nothing that catapults them into like the movement to even get going. There's a level of contentment that they just have operated on that they don't even have to get up and go.
And I think there's a lot of that. You fall into the rut. I was in the rut, like 12 years. I was happy. I was getting up at crazy hours to do this show, but I was happy doing it. I didn't give myself room to dream. And I think that that's something that is a major benefit to having time is you're allowing yourself to dream, and you're giving yourself that space to figure out what is next. And you have to look at some of the positives. I will say this, there is a book, I listen to a lot of books. I don't read a lot of books because I just clearly I've got a million things going on, and I'm like, I have to have my hands moving. I just put my AirPods and then I'm listening to a book on tape. But there was a book that I listened to a couple years ago that I recommend to everyone. And I think anybody out there, if you're struggling, there's 2, same girl. It's Jen Sincero. Have you read any of her stuff? The first one is You're a Badass.
Oh, yeah.
And the second one is You're a Badass at Making Money.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
If you need a pick-me-up, if you are in this funk, if something just happened to you, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend listening to it, because she's very funny and a little sarcastic and kind of out there, which I totally love. Yeah. But hearing her talk about, you've got power in yourself.
You do.
You have to believe in that, and you have to go forward with that. And she has some really great actionable steps that I can tell you, every person that I've told, go read this book. And for myself, reading this book, I saw a huge difference.
Absolutely. I think that you definitely have to find means that are tangible for you to keep going. Like, I actually listen to podcasts. I listen to Audible books. I actually read books.
Yeah.
I am doing the whole 9 yards to make sure that I'm in a good headspace, because the fact of the matter is that no matter what happens, you still have to keep moving forward. So right now I'm reading Oprah's The Path.
Oh,
and so it's been really good for me.
She's dropping wisdom.
Look, she is dropping wisdom left and right. And another one of her books that I love is What I Know for Sure. I mean, literally any Oprah book is good,
right?
Because she literally became like the leader of our lives, especially for our generation. But I will say that this particular book, everybody's talking about like pivotal moments in their lives that shifted or catapulted them into like more. And even people who are highly successful, like she's interviewing India Arie and LeBron James and like just all kinds of people who you would think they don't have these issues. Yes, they do. They're all still facing the self-doubt and the daily struggles of life. It's not, the money doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's your mental space that prevents you from being able to go after your goals. So get that in check. Get the books Kelly mentioned to you. Get on Audible. Find you some self-help books. Also find some fun novels to read. I also found that was good for me. Yeah. Like I read one called Memphis like last year, and it was really good for me. It was just, I mean, I lived in Memphis for 10 years. It was just there. Yeah, it was a little escape. It was therapeutic. We don't always have to fix ourselves either. No. That's what I've learned too. You get on social media and something's wrong with all of us. I mean, you got people, psychologists out out here and Instagram psychologists and fitness experts. And it's like, well, so, good gee whiz. Can I just wake up today and just be?
I just need to be.
Why do I have to like be somebody else? And I don't see anybody in this space, let me just say, talking about being laid off and like how to comfort somebody in layoff or how to move forward. So that was why I was like, I'm tackling this head on, because I don't see very many people talking about it. I think, honestly, it's an area of shame for a lot of people, and it shouldn't be.
No, it should not be. No, it should not be. It's going to happen. If it hasn't happened to you, it just means you haven't been working long enough.
You haven't. And it can happen at the beginning, the middle, or the end.
Amen.
Period.
But, you know, I think the beautiful thing about this is, with you creating this, it's going to be a place where people can tune in, and there are going to be people that are right there alongside you that maybe it just happened. Maybe it's, you know, something like me where it happened years ago, but it's still, I remember that sting and I've figured out what happened since then. And maybe, you know, it hasn't happened yet, but you're just planning for the next steps.
Do you feel like you reckoned with it, or sometimes do you wonder what if?
I am totally okay with it now. But it took a long time. I'll tell you the crazy thing. When I was let go from the station here, I was wrecked. And I remember meeting my dad in a parking lot. My dad lives a couple states away. And so he drove in to meet me, and we were in a parking lot. And I remember crying and him hugging me, and me thinking I just let him down. I let my parents down, because this was what I was supposed to be, and it became who I was. And when he said, "Don't you get it? Like, that has nothing to do with who you are.
No.
It has nothing to do with who you are. It's what you were doing. It wasn't who you are on the inside." And people say that, but it takes a long time to let that sink in.
To relish in it. Yeah.
And I think it probably took I would say a couple years for really all of that to shift. I didn't let it stop me. I went ahead to the next thing. I'm a doer. And I think there are a lot of type A doers out there. They're like, okay, what's next? Let's go. So I was already making steps forward. I don't know that I really came to reckon with it completely until maybe a couple years later.
Well, I don't think the world allows you to.
No.
I don't. And you speak of your dad, and it makes me think of my dad. And
what did daddy say when you called?
My dad is actually passed. So, but it's funny that you bring up your dad today, because I can hear my dad saying that to me, and him saying like, it's just crazy, because my daddy wrote me a letter for Christmas one year, and I was like, Daddy, I don't want a letter. I want some money. Like, or I want like something, some shoes or something. And I lost the letter. And then a couple of years ago, my in-laws, in March of 2020, my in-laws were moving out of their house, and my father-in-law said, Jazz, you got a box upstairs. And I was like, I have a box in your house? And so he goes, yeah, go up there and get it. So I go up there, and the letter is sitting there from my dad, and it says, daughter, I'm so proud of you, and I know you're going to change the world, and I know you're doing like such incredible things. Now I'm gonna cry, but I'm crying with a smile, because I feel it, and I hear him, like, even in the words that your dad said to you, I feel that, because I'm like, I found that letter randomly at the beginning of 2020, after the whole world was about to go through this catastrophic shift, and we were about to all of us were about to try to figure out our new place in this life. And I just hear him saying to me now, like, I'm so proud of you. And my dad was a Black general contractor in West Tennessee, an entrepreneur who paved a way, and he didn't work for anybody. He worked for himself. Right. He was a husband. He was a father of 5 kids. It's like he was all these things, so much more than just a role or a licensed contractor. And so I hear him saying to me, like, you're going to change the world. And I already know that. And I've always felt it. Yeah. And so I don't know. This is it. Like, I don't know. Everybody has their aha moment. That's it. Okay, Oprah, thank you for the phrase aha moment.
And this is where, when people subscribe, this is their new house.
Yes, this is your new house. It's the sweet house. Make sure you guys stay tuned to all the episodes to come, and let me go wipe my tears and hug on Kelly and love her even more.
I'm so happy for you.
I love you.